And we are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, Wayfarer. I hope you are doing well. Whoever you are, wherever you are, and whenever you may be receiving this transmission, welcome to another Live Jive archive. Is Hurricane Milton Manmaed? It's a damn good question. And just as importantly, is it the October surprise? I want to check feedback levels on YouTube, on the boob tube, and see if we're transmitting clearly. I always like to make sure because I don't have anyone out in Happy Land giving me the fives. So if you can hear me, let's see those fives in the chat room. It looks like the transmission is live, but let's see if there's audio. Yeah, that's looking and sounding good as far as I could tell. And it does say that we have a listener out in the ideas room. So fantastic. Good to see you once again. Welcome back, beloved. Let's get into it. So I did a little background research and I was looking at the new incoming hurricane. These guys aren't catching a fucking break, huh? They're just on the mend, and not even, I mean, they're scrambling from the chaos and disaster of Hurricane Helene that went through recently. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Why did it shoot straight to M? I wonder. Why did they skip H, I, J, K, I, J, K, L? I, J, K, L. They skipped 4 letters in the alphabet. I guess there was 4 manifestations of hurricanes between Helene, and Milton. Milton's the next one. They're claiming that the death toll from Helene was 227 or 227, 22-7. Interesting numerological sequences they always try to throw in there. Look out for your 33s, your 22s, your 7s, right? All of that means a little something, something. So I do got some notes that I whipped up here. And I was curious, I've always heard this October surprise, but honestly, I've never really been that interested in politics until I hit 40. When I hit 40, I'm like, okay, you're over the hill. It's time to pay attention a little bit to politics. But to be honest with you, there aren't any coherent, logical, reasonable, well-articulated arguments in politics. It's all one huge load of poo-poo caca, cow manure, horse dung, whatever you may call it. So an October surprise says that it's when scandalous news emerges in the final weeks of the presidential campaign where it might sway elections. So they name classic October surprises take the forms of big news that might sway the needle in the polls, one direction or the other, according to the Mockingbird media, of course. And if you're not familiar with Operation Mockingbird, it just indicates that there was an operation by the CIA which infiltrated the mainstream media and placed assets like the gray-haired fellow over at CNN. What's his name? Forgot, can't recall, don't care. But he's a CIA op, and they control the dissemination of news and what they focus on. So October surprises are news stories that might take the form of a scandalous revelation about a candidate, the outbreak of a war or economic turmoil, or even a fake story planted by the Politburo. As early as 1840 election, New York Democrats in support of President Martin Van Buren waited until mid-October to accuse the Whig Party of paying Pennsylvanians to vote in New York, a key swing state. A Whig official even admitted to the scheme, but it wasn't the bombshell scandal the Democrats had hoped for. So the first scandalous thing they give us is a little Democratic funnying. They say voters make up their minds based on a mixture of impressions, personalities, partisan loyalties, ideological leanings, as well as news and issues. It's never easy to say precisely that this one thing made the difference. Famous October surprises throughout history. 1880, Garfield's death warrant. Interesting one. In just a decade, Chinese immigrants was a hot button issue in the 1870s. 120,000 Chinese men and boys came to the United States under contract to work the railroads. Wow, in a decade. 10 years, 120,000. Now we've got what, 120,000 a month? A week? Running across the border. Republican candidate James Garfield took a measured position calling for new negotiations with China and for Congress to consider reasonable limitations on Chinese immigration that without violence or injustice will place upon a sure foundation the peace of our communities and the freedom and dignity of labor. Wow. When it was such small numbers, like 10,000 a year, now it's 10,000 a day running across the border, and nobody gives any kind of fucks. Number two mentions in 1940 that FDR almost loses the black vote. It says the 1936 election signaled a landmark shift for black voters. Prior to 1936, black voters were loyal Republicans, the party of Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, of course. But as more African Americans moved out of the South to northern cities, they joined other racial and ethnic minorities fighting for better jobs and working conditions. I guess they weren't happy about the influx of Chinese immigrants either. After the Great Depression struck, black voters flocked to Democratic Franklin Roosevelt and his New Deal programs, right? Socialism, democratic communism. FDR carried 71% of the black vote in 36. On October 28th, there was a high profile, okay, I won't go through all of I won't belabor you the details, right? Let's just get to the good stuff. It says it was the Reagan campaign in the 1980s that coined the term October surprise. So if you remember the situation, Jimmy Carter was negotiating with Iran. Look, ongoing issues with Iran, right? Back all the way in the 1980s. The Iran-Contra, was it the Iran-Contra interest? The Iran hostage crisis. And so Carter had already negotiated the release of the hostages. It says there were 50 American citizens being held hostage at the American embassy in Tehran with no political solution in sight. Reagan campaigned on a promise to free the hostages. And of course, the surprise was Reagan accused Carter of holding back the release of the hostages, waiting to announce it because he wanted to spring an October surprise. And they weren't actually released until Reagan's inauguration. And so Carter cried foul of Reagan and said that that was his October surprise. 72 was Kissinger prematurely announcing the end of the Vietnam War. Let me double check the audio, guys. Double check the audio. Okay, looks like we're still good. It looked like my internet cut out for a second. It was big news, says Greenberg. Today, we would definitely call it an October surprise, even though they weren't using the phrase back then. Nixon was already heavily favored to win in 72, but Kissinger's premature peace announcement may have contributed to his landslide victory. So he just falsely announced winning the war. I think it seems like Bush did that too when he piggybacked in on a jet on the what was it the Carry, was it the Kitty Hawk, was that the one? No, it was, I can't remember. Iran Contra indictment was 92. So there you go. A decade later, nearly a generation later, they're still fucking with Iran. And here we are 5 decades later. Good God, like 3-4 generations later, it's still the Iran issue, right? Is another big October surprise. It's like, good God, has nobody studied their history? I know I sure haven't. Like I said, I really don't give 2 fucks about politics normally. And the title up there says, is Hurricane Milton a man-made October surprise? I don't think so. Spoiler alert. It's big news, but it's too early in October, right? We're only on October 8th. I think it's the ritual of the Silver Key, and it's because Randolph Carter went into the snake den and he's opening portals, jumping between realities. So we're seeing these rifts between realities opening up. So again, classic October surprises include political scandals or sex scandals these days, war or economic recession, and number 3 is fake news, right? So be on the lookout for some fake news. What else have we got? A DUI by George W. Bush in 2000. Remember, he had like an ounce of cocaine when he got pulled over. I'm not proud of that, Bush told the press. I made some mistakes. I occasionally drank too much, and I did that night. I was doing, he doesn't say this, but I'm paraphrasing. I was bumping lines off a hooker's ass, and I've learned my lesson. Cocaine, it's a hell of a drug, let me tell you. Yeah, the news story was last minute to Gore, who won popular vote in 2000, but famously lost the election after a recount in Florida was halted by the Supreme Court. Okay, the 7th big October surprise that they mention is an FBI probe into Clinton's emails, right? What difference does it make anyway what those emails were about? Let's go over a few of the details there. On October 7th, the Washington Post released a 2005 video of Republican candidate Donald Trump bragging about sexually assaulting women. Sexually assaulting? Really? Grab them by the pussy? That was totally out of context. Grabbing a gal by the pussy is not necessarily sexual assault, especially if she grabs your cock first, right? Maybe it's foreplay. Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever been in an adult relationship, Washington Post? I don't guess you have. And I don't even imagine how like grabbing someone by the pussy is how you could do that. I don't know. But I guess I'm not Trump. But all those bombshell items were paled in comparison to what happened on October 28th, just 11 days before election. James Comey, the FBI director, called a press conference to announce that the intelligence agency was reopening its investigation into Clinton's private email server, an investigation that the FBI had officially closed in July. The resurrection of the email investigation delivered a crippling blow to the Clinton campaign. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anyone really paid attention to the email thing. If anything, I think the whole email investigation swayed more people back in the direction of Hillary. So yeah, like they said at the beginning of the article, it's all speculation, and it's basically op-ed. I mean, this is reporting of the facts, what they consider to be October surprises at the time. But my big question is, what's the Mockingbird media going to pull this time? I think we got 3 weeks, right? Classically throughout these, you've seen, according to these big 7, Several of them occurred on October 28th. Let me look back through them. Recidivate just a little bit. In 1880, it was October. Doesn't say, just says towards the end of October with 12 days to go. So October 25th, maybe something like that. Not sure. And the second one mentions it being the news story broke on October 28th. Yeah. And then the third one, the news story broke on, doesn't say. Let me see. Oh, that was the inauguration. Okay. That was the Reagan one, the Iran hostage crisis. The fourth one, the Kissinger premature ejaculation of peace in Vietnam, was October 26th. The Iran-Contra one was announced in the news on, where's it at? Doesn't say. Okay. Yeah. The next one, number 7, October 28th. So we've got 2 or 3 of them occurring on October 28th, one on October 26th. And all right, so I don't know if that pattern proves anything, but pattern recognition definitely accounts for something. So I would think that in order to sway swing states, right, when those guys are voting, and I'm not going to be an armchair political analyst with only 20 minutes of research into the subject, because once again, it's not something that I've put much energy into over the years, because I've always considered it to be basically beer and circus. But I was thinking these big hurricanes, right, and these disasters that they're showing on TV, I thought these feel like what has always been coined as the idea of an October surprise. And I thought maybe there's something to it. So I wanted to get into the research a little bit about it and then get your feedback. So put it down in the comments below after you check me out on www.buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday. Check out the syllabus for the 100-day challenge. I'd like you to join me on Pathways of Magic and consider following along with the course material, the course content. And what do you guys think? Are you voting for Trump? Are you like full on ultra MAGA? Because obviously that cackling camel should not get your support in any way, shape, or fashion, in my humble opinion. I think that Mr. T did pretty good last time in his run. I think he was kind of given the shit end of a stick in 2020. Just my humble opinion. And I think I'm entitled to that, because there was a whole period of like free speech crackdown here on this platform and on all platforms that if you even mentioned it, you got a community strike. So, I mean, political commentary should just be op-ed, right? Opinion of the editor. But it seems like they take it really serious and they do not appreciate any kind of negative blowback against their chosen candidate, right? So I'd like to know your guys' opinion. Are you guys fucking hardcore MAGA 2024 like myself? I don't guess that matters one way or the other. I could justify that and tell you why I think that, but anyone who's been paying attention should probably know why that's the better of two evils. And honestly, I don't think he's evil. I think that he's got the power of spirit behind him. I mean, these guys have been gunning for him. 3 assassination attempts in less than 6 weeks, right? Just unimaginable. Okay, well, that's all I've got for you. So I'd like to sign off with saying, peace out. No, that's Sticks, Hex, and Hammer. I'd like to sign off by saying, hit the thumbs up if it was your first time. Don't let it be your last time. Check back often for updates and do good magic. Ad astra per aspera, wayfarer, as we wander into the abodes of the future. Bye for now.